Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today it's time for my first wrap-up of 2021. So January was a wonderful reading month for me. I read some really wonderful books, although I didn't read as many of them as I had hoped to, and I think this is due to a couple of factors. First of all, just like the beginning of the school year is always quite hectic, and I feel like I don't have time for anything as I'm trying to find my rhythm, well, the beginning of the new year was very much the same. I started some new activities as well as going back to school full-time in person as a teacher, which is always stressful, but in this current climate is even more stressful. There wasn't much time left after all of that for reading. However, I have now found my rhythm. I feel like I can start to read more and up to my usual par, as well as I've had to put my reading in perspective. I found that I was panicking a lot these first couple weeks of the year thinking, I haven't read anything yet. And of course I haven't. I've only just started. Of course I'm not going to have a massive tally of books that I've read so far. So I've had to calm my own personal anxieties there. However, the books that I did read were wonderful, so I'm thrilled to tell you about them today. The first book that I read was A Passage to India by E.M. Forster. And you may have heard me talk about this a little bit in the reading vlog that I did mid-month when I finally finished it. This is the story of India under the British Empire, and it focuses in mainly on Miss Quested, who has come to India with her future mother-in-law to visit her fiancé or potential fiancé, who is a governor in India. And they are visiting each other to see what each other is truly like in their natural environment, for lack of a better word, their natural habitat, before deciding to officially go forward with the engagement. It also follows Dr. Aziz. I'm not entirely sure what his official position is, but he works quite closely with all of the British officials, but he also works quite closely with many people from the university who are both British and Indian, and that's really all I can tell you because it's mainly an exploration of the relationships between all of those people. There isn't a lot of action, but the style that Forster uses to really explore each character's psychology is so beautiful. He uses a lot of free indirect discourse, so if you love Jane Austen's style of writing, you will love this novel as well. And what's fascinating about the way that Forster uses it is that he uses it to really allow you into the heads of each character and explore their perceptions of the people around them. So it really explores the racism that was inherent between the British towards the Indians and within the Indians, how Muslim Indians feel about the Hindu Indians. And you find yourself thinking along with all of these characters, which is both fascinating and slightly horrifying at times. But it's such a wonderful exploration of how people come to form and to rationalize their perceptions of each other, even when they are completely wrong, which I feel like is so poignant, especially at this point in our own global history. So I would highly encourage you to read this. I loved this novel so, so much. My next book was a reread, and that was A Countess Below Stairs by Eva Ibbotson. I love all 5 of Eva Ibbotson's young adult/adult novels. And this one was the first one I read, but it was many, many years ago. So I reread it this month. It follows Countess Anna Grzinski, I think, who lives with her family in Moscow, but then has to flee after her father is killed and the Russian Revolution breaks out. So they flee to London with her old governess, and things become very desperate. So Anna decides she is going to go out and find a job to support her family. And she finds a job as a maid in an English manor house. And she does everything with great gusto and enthusiasm and studies all of the rules very, very assiduously, which means that things don't always turn out the way they're supposed to. And yet she has an instinct for making things turn out the way they should and the way they need to. But at the same time, the new Earl is coming home to the manor house after his father and his brother have been killed in the war, and the estate is not doing well financially. So he has hit upon a plan to save the manor house. And the plan is not a great one, but it's the only one he's got. But even that doesn't quite work out the way it is supposed to when he meets Anna. This book is full of wonderful characters. Each of them is so beautifully drawn. It is warm, it is loving, it is funny, it is romantic, it is so engaging. I love all of her novels, and this has to be one of my favorites. The next book I read was The Fair Fight by Anna Freeman. This, I thought, was the story of two lady boxers in around 1799, but I was so wrong. It is so much more than that. It follows the narratives of three people. Ruth, who becomes a female boxer in order to escape her life as the daughter of a madam of a local brothel. George, a young man who is from a less fortunate family and is always trying to fight and gamble his way out of the situation. And the story of Charlotte, a young girl who has lost most of her family to smallpox, and she herself is very badly scarred and is trying to fight her way towards independence and confidence. And all three of these people's lives mix and become dependent on one another. This book had a much slower start than I thought it was going to. The three narratives don't really start to meet until the last third or half of the book, but I really didn't mind it because all of that backstory that you get is so necessary to understand why each of these characters react the way they do when they do finally meet. It was just wonderful. It was deeply engaging. It is written in a very raw and realistic way, and I was trying to think who I would compare this book to. I think the closest style would be Sarah Waters, and funnily enough, here she is giving it a thumbs up on the cover. So if you like Sarah Waters or those sorts of historical novels, this could be right up your street. And finally, I am in the middle of Silver Sparrow by Tayari Jones at the moment. I'm filming this on January 30th. And I am about a third of the way through. So I hope to finish the rest of it this weekend. But so far, it is wonderful. It is the story of two girls who, in fact, are half-sisters. Their father is a bigamist, and you know that from the outset. But only one of those daughters also knows it. And it's about how each of them deal with the knowing or the not knowing. And eventually the two of them meet. And it's about their relationship unfolding with this secret in between them. And you know it's going to explode eventually, but you don't know how. Again, this book is just utterly gripping. The style, the psychology of each of these girls, although I say psychology of each of these girls, the book is split in half. So right now I am in the half that is written from Dana's perspective, the sister who does know. And we switch to Charissa's perspective in the second half. You love each of the characters and you love getting into their minds because Jones lets you into their minds. Even if it's a minor character that we may never see again, you can understand why they feel the way they do because she clues you into what they've been through. And it looks at all sides of plural marriages, the downsides, as well as I won't say benefits, but the reasons why people might have agreed to such a relationship. And I just think this book is utterly fascinating, as well as physically beautiful. So given that, I also cannot wait to read An American Marriage, which I also bought along with this one. And since that has won all sorts of prizes, I can't wait to see what it's like compared to this one. So there you have it, my modest but wonderful reading accomplishments for January. Let me know if you read some fantastic books in January. I would love more recommendations. And until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye everyone.